Lady Catherine walked to the center of the dojo, sword in hand. She turned herself around, expecting an attack, but none came. "Such cowardice!" she cried. "Have you not courage enough to face me? Did your master teach you nothing more than retreat?" "My master," said Elizabeth, "taught me that the shortest path to ruin was underestimating one's opponent." Her ladyship looked skyward and saw Elizabeth atop a rafter, sword in hand. I wouldn't want to ruin, that battle. We don't want to give away who wins, Okay, it's Elizabeth. I hope that when you guys read this book, you can sort of sense that we're in on the joke. That's the biggest thing. I think that the people I've run into, and there are lots of them who are like, I don't get it. Why? Why is this funny? I'm like, well, if you don't understand why it's funny, I can't help you. I can't explain why it's funny. It's either you find it funny or you don't. But if you don't find it funny, more power to you. The original is always going to be better than this book. But if you're into the silliness of it like I am, and the over the topness of it, then right on. Yes, I promise you the next question right there.
I'm a relatively recent convert to the zombie genre.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you could never pick up a Jane Austen with this overlap, yet my sister is just a huge Jane Austen fan.
Right.
So it's the meeting of minds with this book. But my question was, do you read zombie fiction, and do you think that, it seems just weird.
Very.
That this is just, come together. Is there an uptick in that genre? The Austen fans have always been there.
Right.
Do you think that has something to do?
Well, the Austen fans were, they weren't always there. They were there not between 1813 and the late 1800s. They only when these, smoke-filled rooms in England with these, literary scholars sitting around going, "I say, Jane Austen is rather brilliant, don't you think?" And, this was like not to the end of the 19th century where she got her comeuppance, and then, in World War I, for some reason, she also just took right off. But that's a great question, is why zombies and why are they so popular? And,
Do you read zombies?
I do. I actually, my fascination with zombie literature is a recent one. It's due to Max Brooks. It's all Max Brooks. The Zombie Survival Guide, World War Z. Those are two of the greatest books I've personally read in the last 5 or 6 years, and I love them. I read them again and again, and I don't know. I think that if you want to get like really NPR about this, then zombies make sense right now, because these are hard times we live in. They're scary times we live in. And historically speaking, and that's not a very long history, because again, zombies are sort of a modern phenomenon, but they've always been used since they came about to represent the ills that we find ourselves up against at a given time. Whether it's the spread of communism, whether it's crass consumerism and selfishness, whether it's the threat of AIDS, they've been used to, they're a huge walking metaphor. Zombies are easy. They're sort of like the dumping ground for authors and screenwriters, to blame everything on. And so I think the more complex and difficult the time you live in, the more we turn to, well, let's just blame it on those zombies. That's the best I can offer you in terms of why zombies are popular. And then, it doesn't hurt that Max Brooks' stuff is so successful, and Shaun of the Dead is so successful, and Danny Boyle sort of reinvented zombies with 28 Days Later. Although in my opinion, zombies aren't really zombies if they can figure out like doorknobs and stuff. But those aren't scary, those zombies. There's nothing funny about those. Which is why they're not in this book. But that's what I think. I think that the time is, the ground is ripe for zombies. Or gross. I take that one back. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you have any advice for young people who like to write?
Keep writing. And the greatest advice, this is nothing new. Just read. Reading is the best teacher for any writer. The more you read, the better your writing gets, and the more you write, the better your writing gets. It really, I know there's like, I used to ask that question a lot, and I wanted somebody to give me some kind of brilliant insight, which is, only write between 3 and 4 in the afternoon, and take ginkgo biloba an hour before that, and you'll be brilliant, There's nothing that specific. It literally is just, I mean, my first book, I got a royalty statement, and it tells you, and I was thrilled to have my first book published. It's about pornography, and I always feel like the guy who like posed for dirty pictures earlier in his career and said like I needed the money, except I wrote a book about dirty movies because I needed the money. But I got a royalty statement for that book at one point, and it's in 6-month periods. Every 6 months you get a statement telling you how many books you sold in stores that period, and 14 books were sold in 6 months for that first book. It did better than that when it first came out, but I mean that's about as like down to the dumps as I could get. It's like, wow, I am such a failure, and the same thing when I was an assistant, to TV writers, and I just looked at these guys and said, I can never do that. I'm just so stupid, and I can't do it. But you keep on doing it. You have to be, in a way, too dumb to, what is this? It's like too dumb to know when to stay down when you get knocked down. You need to just keep at it, and that's the best advice I can give. If you hate something you write, it only means that you're learning from it. If you look at something you wrote last year and you're like, ugh, it means you've grown as a writer. I say that the minute you look at something you wrote a year ago and you're like, that is brilliant, you're done, because you've stopped growing. So, just read everything you can get your hands on. I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and I've read everything that I always recommend his book on writing to people, because for me it's like the most readable book about writing I've ever read. Weird sentence, but just write. And the fact that you're interested in books and as young as you are is a good sign. So, any other questions? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Are you open for a movie adaptation of this book?
Movie adaptation. I get this question a lot, and there are all these rumors going around about movie adaptations, and we hear the name Natalie Portman all the time. And, my current stance is I can neither confirm nor deny because I've been officially embargoed from announcing, which is ridiculous to me because I've already met with these people and I know that they're going to do this and everything. I'm going to go home and watch Garden State or something, or one of the first Star Wars Episode 1 or something, or V for Vendetta. But no, I have no idea who's doing it.